The day is the 17th of July. My name is Zed, and welcome to another preview review for the Boomsday project. We got a few cards teased before the quote-unquote official card reveals, and I wanted to share those with you guys and sort of give my thoughts on them. So let's just jump right into it. First up, they showed off this new card in the animated short, uploaded on the official Hearthstone channel. I don't remember the name of it, but I will leave a link down to it in the description. It's a new Mage Legendary, minion, 3 mana 2/4, Stargazer Luna. After you play the rightmost card in your hand, draw a card. Obvious synergies would be to include this into Tempo Mage. You run a lot of cheap spells, you run a lot of cheap minions, you just keep drawing your deck. Overall, you just try and dump out as many spells as you possibly can. Could this be an archetype for Miracle Mage? Could that be a thing? I have no idea. Be fun to imagine that as a thing though. Just kind of giving some random ideas out there. Maybe Miracle Mage would be the thing. Maybe that's just Tempo Mage. I don't know. You play your Sorcerer's Apprentice on 2, play your Stargazer Luna on turn 3, and then you just play a bunch of your cheap spells. Well, I guess the dream hand would be Mana Worm on 1, Sorcerer's Apprentice on 2, Stargazer Luna on 3, and then you just dump as many spells as you can. Get your Mana Worm up to the high heavens, so to speak. Next up, we've got Menacing Nimbus, 2 mana 2/2 elemental for Shaman. Battlecry, add a random elemental to your hand. It's an interesting design. I mean, it keeps the elemental train going. You won't be running out of fuel as quickly because it's an elemental in and of itself. And B, it adds another elemental to your hand. The elementals are pretty varied, but I mean, there's an upside and a downside to adding a random elemental to your hand. One is that you can get mage-specific elementals in your hand, which could be pretty good depending on if you're running an elemental shaman deck, which could potentially be a thing with Electra Storm Surge. But on the downside, you don't have the option to discover and pick the elemental that you want to add to your hand. So it's a give and take. The thing to also bear in mind is that there are also other random cards that are elementals. Instance, a couple of the giants were transformed into elementals to keep with consistency or something like that. So you could get one of the giants, and you could just get a Firefly. You could get something like Servant of Kalamos. Like I'm just gonna spoil it right here. I don't think that Elemental Shaman is still going to be a thing. It could, but I kinda doubt it. So I'm just like, it depends on what other Elemental Shaman receives, if they're going to receive more Elemental Synergy cards. And I kind of doubt that they will in an expansion themed around mechs. Speaking of, earlier today, the Hearthstone team uploaded a video where they showed off the new mechanic, Mechnetics, and showed off a few more cards. Sort of water our mouths a little bit at the upcoming cards they're revealing. And in it, they announced that the classes that are going to be getting the most love with the new magnetic keyword are Hunter, Paladin, and Warrior. Same tri-class from Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, where they were the hand buff, grimy goons people. Is it a coincidence? Probably. So the first one we've got is a 5 mana 5/5 War Gear. It's a mech with magnetic. There really isn't much to say about this. It's like like they said, it's like a Blessing of Kings for mechs. Neutral, but you can pair this up with some of the other mechs, and I'm guessing that there's going to be some sort of mech meta decks. That's going to be my prediction, because when they showed off like the mech with magnetic and can't be targeted by spells or hero powers, which is upcoming in this review, that's when I realized, okay, this could actually be meta defining. Except that they revealed was an upgradable Framebot. Keep wanting to call it Flamebot, but it's a 2 mana 1/5 mech. Very sturdy on the board. You can magnetize this. It'll be pretty tough to take this down. I'm guessing it's going to be a high priority because of how out of control the mechs can get. There isn't much to say about this, it's just a body. A Beryllium Nullifier, 7 mana 3/8 Warrior mech with magnetic and can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. So you can imagine just the sheer power of combining this with an already beefy mech. The only thing that can really take you down is silence. It's really the one thing that will really screw you over. With a card like this though, I imagine that mechs are gonna be rampant, at least for a while, if not for meta-defining permanently for the next expansion. The more I look at the keyword, I know I said in the original preview review that I thought the magnetic keyword was a bit wonky, but the more that I think about it, the more I think it should have just been modified to say, hey, combine this with the same tribe as this minion, or play it on its own. If I may derail real quick. So like, if a Murloc had magnetic, you could merge it with another Murloc. If a mech had magnetic, you could merge it with another mech, because it's with the same tribe as the minion with magnetic. I don't know, just something that I wish was a thing, but it's not. Going back onto the topic of Beryllium Nullifier, that's a pretty decent body if you can combine it with some amalgamation, especially something with taunt. Like, oh, I don't know, Ziliax? 5 mana 3/2 legendary neutral with magnetic, divine shield, taunt, lifesteal, and rush. Only thing that's missing is Wind Fury, and then you've got Alakir, the Stormwind, whatever his name is, the classic Shaman legendary. It's, the more I look at the magnetic and the mech relationships, the more that I think, hey, this could actually be really pretty decent if your opponent isn't careful. Maybe it'll be like a Cobalt and Catacomb situation where just you have to run Silence again, because these magnetic mechs, they seem pretty decent. And I can't help but imagine that the meme wagon isn't going to be as much of a meme anymore with this magnetic keyword, because previously it was really tough to buff the meme wagon, and that's why it got its nickname. But with such an easy keyword to buff it like magnetic, it could potentially be a real threat and could lead to some, I guess, big decks, maybe? I don't know. No, not really, because you have to run the magnetic mechs and they have relatively low attack, but still, the idea that you can still just fetch more mechs with your meat wagon and just keep piling on with your mechs, the meat wagon could potentially make a return in more than just the memes. And that's going to about do it for this review. If you're interested to see what my 5-star rating is on each of these cards, be sure to subscribe and like and do all that fun YouTube stuff that every YouTuber tells you to do at the end of a video. As always, my name's been Zed. Take care, all.